Okay, so to correct my fuck up here, this is a 1/2 inch drive socket. This is a 15/16 inch socket, which I didn't realize was cracked. This is just my good old-fashioned vise. Don't mind the duct tape on the jaws. That was for something else. Just kind of want to make sure you center it up, and then we're just gonna push these out real easy. Real easy. Boop, there they go. That takes the bearing out without any damage to the bearing. Bearing still is fine. You do want to make sure when you do this that you use a socket that catches the outer race on the bearing. This is like real easy shit. I wasn't going to do this, but after futzing around with it a little bit, I realized that it has to get done. Bam. And that goes in there. Oh, it works better if you use the right end of the socket. Shit for brains. Alright. It should just fall out now. Boink. Just like that. Alright. Let me get back to those. Because I believe in showing my warts, I'm going to show what I did wrong here. Okay, so I have this snap gauge. I'm gonna. So that's. That's about it. Tighten the snap gauge. Okay, so that's the actual size of the hole. Okay, and this is my veneers, which I should be using a mic for this, but you can see what my size is. Okay, and actually I could probably scooch it down a little bit. Now that's the size right there, give or take, half a thou. See, that's where I screwed up there. Okay, so that's the size of the hole. And this is the size of the bearing. Okay, this actually wants to be, let's see if we get this to focus. Okay, so it's exactly 7.5, and this wants to be like 7.49 at the smallest. As a matter of fact, 7.49.5 would probably be better. So I've got to take that much out of the inside. So I got to take like 2/1000ths out of the inside of this. Now I should have done it on the lathe, but once I parted these off, the lathe that I'm using is so big that it wouldn't hold that type of tolerance, and the thing's 100 years old. I'm not blaming the lathe, I'm blaming the operator. So that's what I got to do. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to take some emery cloth and wrap it around a stick for the sake of argument, and I'm going to just mount these in my vise and then just drive the stick through it and then measure it to make sure that it's close. These have no load on them at all, really, but they do need to spin freely, and that isn't the way they were, is they weren't spinning freely like this one. So these need to spin like that. Even that one's a little janky, but that's the way they want to spin. In reality, they want to spin like that. Even this one, that other one spins better. Now they need to be completely free spinning, so that's what I have to fix. So to correct my undersized hole, okay, I had to build a sanding drum to do that with. So this is my Shopfox radial arm drill press, which I featured in a different video. I had originally set this up so I could use it in the vise, and then I realized that a couple things. One is, even with a set of parallels in here, this didn't really want to hold it very well. So quite frankly, I just ended up doing it like this with my hand. So you just turn it on. And that's that. And that's really all I needed to do, was just to just sand this, just sand the inside a little bit, and then the bearings just nicely pressed in so they spin really nice now. So that's how the bearings are supposed to spin. This one's slightly tight, but it's still working perfectly well. Now to make this tool, I got smart. I've done this before. I don't know where my old one was, so I just made a new one. I took this slug, which is left over from, this was a chunk of leftover slug, or a chunk of leftover axle. So I took this slug, and it just so happens that the ID on this piece of copper pipe is the same as the OD on this steel slug. I did clean it up a little bit with some emery, so it slid in there relatively nicely. And then I just took emery paper, which I happen to have a roll of here, and I taped it to here. But what I did was, I slit this piece of copper pipe and folded the paper back on itself. There we go, just like that. Slid it in there, wrapped it around until I got pretty as close as I could, so it would still fit in the holes. And then obviously I put some black tape on it, and that worked perfectly. It worked absolutely perfectly for what I wanted to do, which is just literally take half a thou off the inside, and it worked exactly the way it was intended to. So that'll get thrown back in my toolbox, and I'll forget where the hell I put it, and then have to make another one later. So that was, there we go, right into the bucket. So that's that. That's how I repaired my Die-Flügel. Another, I'm just going to show, this is my this is how the plasma cutter finished that 5/16 plate steel. And that's the part of this is my operation of the machine, the plasma cutter, but also that the amount of slag that was on this, that blew out on these. Yeah, I know I could knock it off with a hammer, but they just didn't turn out the way I wanted them to, so they got shit canned. So as you can see here, this is my glass blowing station, which is now my welding station again. It was a welding. It was always supposed to be a glass blowing table. Now it's a welding table again. So I've got my TIG torch. My amp troll is down here on the floor, and here's the part that I'm going to weld. Okay. So let's see if we can make this work. So I was originally going to make this like really intricate jig to make this thing work, and I decided after starting to build the jig, I was like, why the fuck am I doing this when I can just do what I'm doing, which is use, there's a little shim here in the back to keep it level. This section here actually isn't 1/4 of an inch. It's a little bit shy of 1/4 of an inch. I wasn't going crazy machining it. All I needed to do was make a flat spot. So I hit my got my finger here, which works better when you put it on the flat spot, and just a square. So I'm going to square this up, just like that. I have a little scale here somewhere that I was using to measure with, like literally 2 seconds ago. There we go. So these want to be about 1 inch. Don't use your scale as a hammer. So I'm out of square. There we go. I'm about 1 inch. It is kind of critical that these are square. If they're not square, then you're going to run into problems. let's see here. So we're a little bit shy of we're about 11/16. Let's go this way a little bit. And like I said, I was gonna make some intricate jig to weld these up, and then I was like, you know what? Not for nothing, I'm getting a little tired of this project. So that's half inch, 9/16, 5/8. That's half, 9/16, 5/8. That's about 5/8. That's about close enough. I'm actually going to whip out my my brand new TIG welding gloves. These don't have any burns in them, the finger's not all burned up. So I mustn't have ever used these. I'm set at about 105 amps. I don't need this to be crazy. Actually, I probably could have brazed these. I could have brazed these with a torch. I'm using my TIG welder just because I can. I like TIG welding. You know, why not? It's interesting, the high frequency actually the start actually just went through my my stereo. That ain't good. So we're still square. I'm gonna flip it over. Oh, that's a problem. Actually, it's not really a problem. Let's do another quick one here. So I'm going to set this aside. I'm going to set this aside for a second and let it cool off a little bit. I'm not going to go crazy welding this thing for a lot of reasons. The main reason being is I don't really have to. That ain't going nowhere. Famous last words. So now I just have a bunch more to do. And that's basically the way this is going to work. I'm welding these, so this is the countersunk screw side. They're going there. I'm going to go grab my other speed square, I think, or I'm just going to do it this way. I'm just going to eye them up. These aren't going to be connected per se, so it's not super critical. My third finger here was a great idea. Eyed up, it still came out pretty good. So it's really nice having this table. Fucker. Now that's what happened. See, I bought this thing to save gas with, and I keep forgetting to shut it off. So I just blew the end off of my electrode. So, tweak. Because I'm an asshole. I'm gonna go resharpen it. I should probably take, if this was if this was something of importance, you know, I'm gonna brush that real quick. I should grind that all off, blah blah blah, but I'm not going to. So there you go. I fucked up the weld because I rushed, not thinking, trying to save 50 cents. So there's my new, I just resharpened it. As a matter of fact, you can still hear the grinder winding down. I put this in a cordless drill and then I used the side of the grinder. I like a really sharp take point. I'm sure there's welders out there that'll tell me I'm full of shit or whatever. I don't care. It's just the way I get the best results. It's a nice sharp electrode. And my cups are dirty. I don't care. And my stick out's way too far. That I have to fix. So I'm going to just loosen my collet up a little bit. Push my stick in a little. You know. Now, hey, listen, gas. Now, remember, turn the gas on. Now, like I said, I should clean this up, but I didn't. I am going to check it again for square. It's still square. I actually didn't make any contact. Believe it or not, that's not contact. That's just what the arc did. Yeah, that's just the arc burned it. All right, so now, hey, listen, gas. Now my helmet just fucking died. Fantastic. And it's gonna be one of those fucking days, I can tell. This thing's supposed to be solar. God damn it. So here's a laugh a minute. I actually got the battery that I needed at the supermarket of all places. Never actually been able to get one of these at the supermarket before. Well, there's the first time for everything. The battery gods were shining down upon me. I love this helmet. I don't know who makes this. Colts Labs. I don't know. The helmet itself is, you know, some kind of Snap-on knockoffy thing. I actually had, I've killed so many batteries in this particular helmet that I usually will take the battery out of it. But I had been using this helmet. I used the crap out of it a couple months ago, and I forgot to take the battery out, which resulted in me having my battery just die, which kind of sucks. So this one takes this screwy CR2450, which is, it's a thick 3-volt battery. Of course, I bought the ones that it doesn't take. And it's supposed to be solar powered. Yeah, well, solar powered my ass. It never works. That part hasn't worked since I ever bought it, and I don't trust them anyway. Whatever you do, buy a good helmet. You only get one set of eyes. And it goes in there like that. And it's got a little test button. I put the battery in backwards. Of course. My other one takes AA, but my other one's not adjustable. So I like this one better. Oh, there we go. Works better if you put it in right the first time. That slides in there like that. That goes in there like that. This goes in here. I don't like the way this thing goes together. It's this is a planned obsolescence, if you ask me. I paid dearly for this helmet. The helmet's junk. I mean, the helmet's not anything. It's the lens that goes in it that's worth. I think well, now this is old. This is like 10 years old, so I paid like $300 for it. You can get a decent one now. You can get a decent one now for a lot less money. Okay. Now, let's try this again. Round 2, right? Gas on? Yeah, gas is on. Let's get some flow. There we go. On. I'm not using any filler rod. I'm not using any filler rod because this isn't a high. Because it's not a nuclear reactor. Flat out, it ain't a nuclear reactor. I don't need. Actually, that's a little gappy, so I'm gonna have to put a little rod in there. Whoa. I'm not even going to turn that off. I'm just going to leave it on. Well, there we go. And that will be fine for the time being. I'm going to go back and weld those again, or I'm going to probably weld that one again, but I want to test fit this one completely. So let's see what we got. Look at that. So now I have to jig up this, but I'm going to weld the rest of these first. And actually I'm probably going to weld the top of that just because I can. And I'm going to use this thing to do it with. Why not? Right? Plus it'll give me a little bit of, I'm going to add a little filler to this right here. I'm a little hot, but that's okay too. Again, this isn't a nuclear reactor. This is just a fuck around project. All right, I'm gonna let this one cool off, and we're gonna put this one together real quick to make sure. Hey, that one's hot too. We're gonna put any of them together. And you know what? That's probably not a good idea to do, just because. So that goes in there like that. That's going to get a washer. And I still need to deburr these a little bit. It works better if you put the damn, put it together, right? I do believe I'm gonna have to go through my pile of washers. I think I'm gonna have to get, actually what I'm gonna do is go through my pile of stuff. I have flange bolts, or flange screws, flange nuts, that I bought a long time ago. I may have used them all, I'm not sure. Yeah, it's definitely hot. TIG gloves are notoriously thin for a reason. They're really just to keep you from getting electrocuted. So, there we go, kids. It's a relatively close, that's gonna have to get red Loctited. It's a relatively close, I didn't Loctite these yet, so this is gonna have to get Loctited, and maybe what I might do is I'm gonna stake these. Probably I'll stake them on this side. Oops. So it's gonna get red Loctite for sure, and then I'm gonna take a punch and I'll punch the threads right there. I'll just take a center punch and go whack, and then that fucker will never move. But red Loctite is the first step. Interesting thing about things that get hot is they get hot over time. Yeah. So yeah, that's it. And then I'll figure out, I could probably just do it just like this. That's it. It's fini. Yeah, they're not spinning because there's not enough weight on it to cause it to spin. There you go. I think I may have to cut those bolts off too. I have to trim those bolts, so that's not a big deal. I can just, I'll build a rig or a jig and I'll cut the ends of these bolts off. These bolts are too long. They'll have to get cut off. But I want to put it together. I want to make sure I get it all together first. Yeah, I'm gonna have to red Loctite this. All right, now I got a whole bunch more to weld.